I hope I'm audible. Yep. Okay. I know I'm not a very familiar face. I just joined Hebal Matma Church, I think in the month of December. And I've been coming to church, but of course, like with the mask, so you guys will not recognize me. I've been uh, interacting with few of you all, so I can see some familiar faces. Praise, I know her from, since we were part of the Mumbai diocese, we've worked together as VBS leaders, and so yeah, it's a really joyful moment for me, and I really thank Achin and the Youth League for giving me this opportunity. Um, so just to give more, I don't know, but Ris Rajan is my brother. I guess he's joined the Youth League recently, so you guys might know him. So yeah, um, so let's just get to the. I'll just share my screen. I have a presentation. Um, okay, I think I can't share the screen, please. Okay. So the topic today that I'm thinking of discussing with all of you is there will always be light. So we already read a Bible passage. I want someone, while we just resolve this, someone if they can read from Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 to 16.
Could you repeat it one more time?
Yeah, it's Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 to 16.
You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hindered. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house.
Right. So in the Bible reading, we also read about the wise and the foolish builders. So I'd like to take these two passages as my reference for today's talk. Now, when we talk about build houses on a rock, has any one of you all seen a house on a rock? Have you all seen, if you all can, any monuments, or any you all have visited a house on a rock? Because like, this is a very familiar passage, and we always keep saying, wise men build a house on a rock and foolish people build on sand. Have you guys seen any house on the rock? Can you name any famous house on the rock? Come on, there are so many. We're in India, right? In India, there are so many houses on rocks. Okay, you'll keep thinking. So, I was just searching for houses on rocks. Okay. And most of the pictures are like, this solitary rock and a house on top of that. And they look so scary, so difficult to build. And they are like, you feel that it's so difficult to go on top. How do you get on top of such houses, right? And they look so formidable and unattainable, kind of a thing. um, so when we talk about rock, how do you build a house on rock? But there are so many houses on rock. So let me give an example. Maybe this will give a clue. I think many people might have visited this place. Anyone?
മഹാബലിപുരമാണ്.
No. If anyone's talking, if you can just unmute and talk.
Ajanta Aloha.
Yeah. This is Ajanta Ellora. Yes. So if you see a lot of Buddhist monasteries, right, most of them are actually built on rocks or carved inside the rocks, and old temples are built on rocks. The forts, there's so many forts, right? If you see, they're actually built on mountains, and they're actually built on rocks, if you see, right? So when we think about, let's picturize these houses that are built on rocks. If you see, you feel that those houses are actually part of the rock, right? I mean, it's not like we just see the house. You see the rock, and then you see that the house is actually sprung out of the rock. It's like it's become part of it, or you're carving into that rock. You've become part of that rock, right? So when in this passage, when if we meditate on it, what do you think? What is this rock that this passage is referring to, or who is this rock that this passage is referring to? Okay, let's just have an interactive thing. Who is this? What do you think is this passage referring to? Okay, do you know who's talking in this? I didn't give an introduction of this passage. This is a passage that was, it's called the Sermon on the Mount, right? So Jesus is preaching to the people. It's one of the most beautiful two chapters in the Bible. If you know these two chapters in the Bible by heart, maybe that's all that you need to know, right? So when Jesus says, it's the wise men build their house on the rock, who is he referring to? Who is this rock that he's referring to? It is Jesus, right? Jesus is referring to the rock as himself, right? And the house is us. So if you picturize yourself, okay, that you are this house and you are built on Jesus, you can actually imagine that you're actually part of him, right? You are a piece of his body. You are part of him. You are carved into him. You and Jesus are one body, right? And that is what even the symbolism of Holy Communion is, right? When Jesus says that I am, this is my body and this is my blood. Every Sunday when we take Holy Communion, we're actually, um, you know, having a part of his body, right? So if you try to correlate the symbolism, when you look at this house on a rock and you imagine that house is yourself and the rock as Jesus, and you see, that both of them are just one, right? So you are a part of him and he's a part of you. So when that happens, the foundation, it's not just about the foundation, right? It's the whole structure, the whole house, everything comes into the picture. So we like when earlier when I used to meditate, I used to just think that, okay, my foundation should be Christ, and then after that what I am, it doesn't matter. But it's not that. Like my whole body, and Christ's body is one, right? I'm carved into him. So if that is the case, then I become one with him, right? So when we think in that sense, it's such a you feel so empowered, right? When you think that you are a part of him, his body, and you have built your house on top of that rock, right? You're part of that rock. But it also, so when Jesus says that I am the light of the world, I am the rock that you have to build your house on, right? So it's a very brave thing that you do as well, right? So if you're going to build a house on rock, if you see all these houses that are built on rock, they're all solitary, like mammoth structures. So it's so difficult, they look so formidable. So it's a very difficult um, thing to do as well, right? It's not an easy task, right? So when Jesus talked, then he also says that I am the light of the world. So if you are part of Jesus, and you will always be protected by him, come what may, right? And but there is also a very important responsibility as well that is given to you. It also comes with a clause, right? So I just want to introduce this person. I don't know whether you all have heard about her. She's Amanda Gorman. So if you all have seen the inaugural speech, inauguration day speech given during the swearing in ceremony of Joe Biden, the American president, in the month of January. So she is the youngest Nobel uh, poet laureate. Okay, she's the first one, and she's just, I think, 22 years old, and she was the poet laureate when she was 16, and then she became the national poet laureate when she became, I think, when she was 18 or 19, right? And such a young girl, and she was given the opportunity to give a speech, during the inauguration day of Joe Biden. And in this speech, the name of that speech was "The Hill We Climbed." The hill we climbed was the name of the, not a speech, I'll say it was a poetry that she recited, which she wrote. And she said she ended her whole poetry with these two lines. And this is what reference, this is the crux of what I want to talk today. That is, there is always light if only we are brave enough to see it. And there's always light if only we are brave enough to be it, right? So the first part, if you read, there is always light if only we are brave enough to see it, right? We can identify with the passage that we read before, when Jesus says, I am the light of the world. He's always there with us, right? But we need to be brave to see it. It's not an easy task to follow that light, right? To be to be part of that light. But the second part is, if only we, there is always light if only we are brave enough to be it. So the second part of it is also very important. So when Jesus says, I am the light of the world, there is also a clause to it, that you also are the light of the world, right? He talks about that. So it's not just that, yeah, okay, I've built my house on the rock, I'm following the light, and my job is done. It doesn't work like that. Along with being following the light, you also need to be the light. And that's where the passage, Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 to 16, is important, where what Jesus says, you are the light of the world, right? And a city on a hill cannot be hidden. You cannot hide, right? You have built your house on the rock. You're following the light, and you cannot, that's not the end, right? You need to be the light as well. So a city on a hill cannot be hidden, or you don't light a lamp and cover it, right? You always put it on a stand so that people can see that light. So if you're following the light, there is a clause to it, right? You also need to be the light. So how, when I say how do you think you can be the light? Now if you look at Amanda Gorman, she is just 22 years old. Yeah. She is a Black American. In the Trump regime, it was so difficult for the Afro-American people and she's just 22. She started her activism when she was 16, and she is an activist. She's an activist for Black people. She's an inspiration for women. Yeah. So such a young age, and she got this opportunity, to be part of the inaugural speech, to read a poetry. This is a tradition that is followed, to read a poetry in the inaugural speech, inaugural day of the American president. Um, Big poets have done that, right? Like Robert Frost has done that. Maya Angelou has done that. They are like, and they did it at such a age when they were so mature, and they had done so much in life. And this girl, just 22, but she is become an inspiration to so many. And she was inspired by whom? When she was young, she was inspired by Malala. That's what she said in one of her interviews. So, and this girl, when she was a child, she had a speech impediment. She couldn't talk, and that's the most ironical thing. I was just wondering, a person as a child who couldn't talk, she had to struggle with her speech. She had to, and she had auditory issue. She was hypersensitive to sound. So with all these impediments, she fought on, and look at her at the age of 22, reading a poetry, and such a powerful poetry. The words that she said, is so powerful. If you think about it, and if you read that poetry, I suggest that all of y'all, as a homework, go back and read the poetry that she read, The Hill We Climb. It's a wonderful poetry, and I'm sure it'll inspire all of us as well, because we as a country, as we are also facing a lot of issues that, which might frustrate us. We don't know where we are going. Yeah. And as youths as well. So that poetry that she's written, to come from a 22-year-old young girl, is just amazing. And when we think as youths, what can we do? What can we do? I'm just 20, or I'm just 18. No, you can do so much, right? So like, we always think that, uh, there's this thing, we always think that, okay, I go to the church, I go to the Sunday school, youth league, I'm holy, we take our moral, high ground. I've done everything right, I'm following the light, my house is built on the rock, and that's, my job is done. No, it doesn't work like that. The second part of that clause is very important. You have to be the light. Unless you be the light, there's no hope, right? Jesus, if you follow the light, you have to be the light to someone, right? And that is what each one of us have to do. There is no second opinion about it. You cannot get away with that, right? So um, we cannot think that, okay, I do everything, I'm very holy, and my job is done. We have to reach out to those people, even in our daily, in college or in your workplace. Small things that you do, we can really influence people, and we can really um, you know be there for people. Instead of, like we say, our parents always pray, you know uh, they pray that our children should not get lost, they should not fall in bad company. What is this bad company? you know there's nothing called as bad company. If people who have been lost, right? They all have their own stories. If you go and talk to your friends who you feel is, the bad company that we keep thinking about, you go and talk to them, you will hear stories of brokenness in their lives, right? So if we try to alienate ourselves, saying that, oh, I'm holy, and I will not mingle with such people and all. But of course, you need to be strong yourself. You cannot, I'm not saying that you need to go and be like them, but you need to be there for everyone. You need to have an open mind. You need to have an open heart to listen to such people, to listen to your friends who you may think that are bad company, right? So that at some time they might need you, and they can approach you. That's how you can be a light. It's not just about being holy and blocking everyone away from us, but being open about it, open to people, so that they come and approach you, right? That's how you can be a light. You are the first. So if anyone faces issues in their life, you can be their guiding light, right? I know, when I had as youth, when I faced issues in my life, it was my friends, my friends from my youth league whom I approached even before anyone, right? I spoke to them and they were there for me, right? So similarly, if you are open, if you are accepting and loving to people, and show your goodness and kindness, I'm sure that there's nothing as bad company. They will also come to you, and you need to be that light that Jesus is talking about. So it's not just it's important that we also be the light, right? So I'd like to challenge you all that, are you guys brave enough to be the light? That's what I'd like to it's a challenge. It's a challenge for you and me. It's a very difficult thing to do, to be the light. Because first, in order to be the light, first is we have to follow the light. We need to be strong enough, and we need to have a relationship with the light, right? A very strong relationship. Only then can we be the light, right? So it's a very brave thing that we have to do. It's a very difficult thing. When Jesus says, you follow me by what? Carrying the cross, right? So it is a cross that we carry. So it's not like it's not a physical cross, that it's a very difficult part that you have to take. So are you brave enough to be the light? Let's just think about it, meditate on it, and I'd suggest all of you all to just go and read the poetry that Amanda Gorman read. It might inspire all of you all, and I hope that as youths, we all, I'm including myself in the youth, that we all follow the light and be the light that Jesus wants us to be. Yeah. So there will always be light. Yeah. Thank you.